Hi everyone, welcome to the second episode of Breaking the Box. Joining me live is none other than Miss Jennifer Nicole Brewer, best known as Life Misspelled, and of course yours truly, Miss Sandy Salgado. So this is our second video. We have not been back to record to put out content since 2017 solar eclipse. Before actually we get into breaking the box, let's go ahead and reiterate and emphasize on what is a box.
It's a mental limitation, a mental restriction, a box within your mind that you cannot see, running off of programming and conditioning.
Conditioning that our ancestors, that our families, society has put us in life, and it's program conditioning. I think going back generation from generation. It's not that
Right.
people do this purposefully. Right. It's simply what your ancestors, your relatives have programmed into you. It's almost like a cultural entrapment, if you must.
Right, and it comes through many different forms, and we definitely get it through our parents. Us kids born in the 80s and 90s definitely got it from Disney.
Yes.
Just one example. We get it from our teachers, depending on our schooling system. We get it from the kids around us that we're in school with. And it's ongoing, from the time you're born, because you're born with, you have to be taught everything. You're taught how to speak, how to walk, how to talk.
So pretty much, in simple terms, breaking the box or a box is just programming and limitation and confinement that society puts you under, where you should be a certain way according to their standards, according to their personal beliefs, and you're in box. And so breaking the box
is about becoming your authentic self.
Absolutely.
It is about being who you are, and the world is going to present you with so many opportunities to be that person that you are. It is going to hit you with all different kinds of people and situations that come into play so that you can exercise your skill set and better it, and so that you can see other parts of yourself that you weren't allowed to see before.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, where we decided to venture into the world of entrepreneurship, and for myself, speaking, personal growth and development, coaching clients, public speaking engagements, things that I would have never.
So proud of you.
Things
so
that,
proud of you.
Thank you. It's been quite the journey. Things that I would have never considered being capable of or being worthy of doing are things that I've actually broken out of those boxes, those fears, those mental blockages where I would continue to digress and divert back to old ways of, or thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I'm where my, people that I surrounded myself with for years would limit me, telling me that I could never be somebody, that I could never do something. Speaking from personal experience for myself, venturing into public speaking and being somebody in the midst of light, to be able to shed light on others and to take that responsibility, because it's a very big responsibility to engage with other individuals, to give them hope, to be able to break outside of their boxes. And so we have to live by what we preach, in other words. So
Yeah.
for my personal experience, when it came to coaching, when it came to public speaking, having hundreds of eyes on you, it's not an easy thing to do, and in no way compares to having a camera in front of you and being able to comfortably speak when you see all of that. So breaking that limitation, breaking out of that box of fear, it all boils down and goes back to fear. To me, actually genuinely having to shed all those layers of insecurities, of uncertainty, of whether or not I will, all those years of programming and saying, this is who I am, this is what's in my heart, and really following and pursuing those dreams. I think that, and don't get me wrong, I have failed time and time again. There's times where I've been in front of an audience and I have completely frozen and my legs are shaking, but getting back up after those mishaps and trying again and doing it over and getting actually better at what you're pursuing, I think has been the biggest box that I have broken. Now, as far as relationships go, I was a part of a relationship, a very toxic relationship, unfortunately. A two-way street, obviously, codependency, the fear of being alone. I think that for many of us has been a box that we don't like to talk about, that we don't like to expose. But by the grace of God, obviously, I was able to really look inside and really be able to look at myself for who I am and know that I'm worthy, know that I have something to offer to the world and to whatever man, the Lord decides to give me in the future. I know that now, but I had to break free of these boxes of this mental entrapment that I put myself in, because I blame no one for the box that I was in, for the codependency that I had for this person. It's a matter of really taking responsibility for your own actions and really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to really learn from all the mistakes and not fall victim of the same mistakes over and over. I know you have a lot to share when it comes to relationship matters as well, and to your entrepreneurship. I think that we can both relate in those experiences. I know that you wanted to share something as far as a very memorable experience that we had the opportunity to have together.
Yeah. Well, we've had many great opportunities to do a lot of stuff together. I wish we had it all on video.
I know.
We'll have to compile the pieces
clips,
that we
yes.
have together. But yeah, I ended up in a relationship with my business partner, a romantic relationship. And in the beginning, like, there's all these ideas and all these things of how you want it to be as long distance. So you're creating these different realities in your mind, expectations with another person. And for me, I fell back into, in that relationship, I fell back into a pattern that I had been in before.
Why don't you elaborate a little bit on that pattern, please,
Yeah.
so that the audience,
that pattern is more of where I quit working on myself, and I quit doing things for myself, and then I just want to elevate the other people around me to then okay, when they get here, then I can go back to being myself.
And you're referring to your partner in this case, to your both business partner and your romantic partner.
And just life itself, like, that happens as being a mom too.
Putting yourself on the back burner, absolutely.
Right.
But it was a box that you were falling victim of time and time again because you weren't aware of the structure that your mind was playing in that moment.
Right, like thinking that I needed people to be at a certain place in order for me to even work on the things I wanted to work on. Otherwise, then I should have been helping them.
So you were pretty much, in other words, placing your happiness in the hands of another individual. Completely, like they say, putting all your eggs in one basket, so to say.
You could say that.
Okay. So what about, how did you finally become aware of that box, of that confinement, and two, how did you break free?
Well, I became aware of it. I was aware of it, continuously throughout the relationship. And I would talk about it, and I would get mad at myself, and I would beat myself up for it, and I'm really, really hard on myself as it is. And, that there would just be bad days because I couldn't get in my energy flow that I wanted to be in.
So you finally had a breaking point, and I remember there was a time there was a Tony Robbins event that we were a part of, and I remember that for both of us it was a moment of epiphany, it was a moment of revelation, of realization. Why don't you tell me what you experienced in that moment that you finally said, this is real, this is enough, I need to stop?
There's a lot of me being willing to look at myself, but the other person not being self-aware, just constantly blaming me and judging me I felt judged all the time. And I had never admitted that until the Tony Robbins event. And then Tony Robbins comes out, and he talks to us for 4 hours, this massive group of people here at a convention in Las Vegas. And he makes us ask ourselves, this is a true matrix recoder, okay? Tony Robbins is someone that can see the matrix, and he sees the issues, and he's able to call them out. But he doesn't tell you what you need to do. He makes you ask yourself what you need to do.
In order to fix it, absolutely.
Right, and so we're having to answer, and Sandy and I are standing there, and we're grouping up with these people that we don't know.
Complete strangers.
Complete
Beautiful
strangers.
Experience. If you haven't experienced, we're totally giving promo to Tony Robbins. Not that he needs it, but it's actually a life-changing experience to be able to embody the real person, the shadows, the skeletons in the closet, to confront them is absolutely life-changing. And I know for you there was a couple of moments where we both had tears and we exchanged, and it was a mental breakdown, but we needed to break through those boxes in order to really rebuild ourselves and confront the reality of our situation.
So after that, I know that I was very weird towards my partner for a few days, and I finally had to just say that I felt that that person did not respect me as my authentic self.
So that was you breaking the box.
That was
me breaking the box. It was, okay, I'm aware, because again, we want to emphasize on the fact that you cannot fix what you're not willing to confront. So you cannot overcome what you're not willing to confront. Finally, Jennifer had the opportunity to say, this is me, this is what's wrong, and in that moment you completely shed light on the issue that had been ongoing for months, correct?
Right, that myself had just not wanted to see, not wanted to look at. You know, there's always those things that we don't want to look at, right?
No one is perfect.
Yeah, no one is perfect. You know, we all have our shadows sides that can come out in a relationship, and
Yeah.
you know, you have to deal with that. You have to really, you know, look at yourself. But I really loved and cared about this person and known this person for a really long time, and had a lot of respect for them.
And I'm sure you, and maybe this is my own opinion, but I do feel that you will always have love for this individual as a
Yeah.
human being,
Right.
as his entity, as his person.
I'm very thankful for the entire experience.
Absolutely.
But in those moments, Tony woke me up and is like, I am not being respected, and I feel like I'm being judged for everything I've been through in life and who I am all the time, and I don't understand why this person, you know, just doesn't love me for who I am. And so I brought all this up in conversation, and it did not go very well, and it took about an entire month to break up after that, then took an entire month to break up as friends after that, and then turned into
a toxic transition of events, and
yeah.
unfortunately there's really no way of knowing how things will turn out when it comes to matters of the heart. You know, we're beings of emotion, but you have finally put that to rest. You're still in the process of
Right,
healing.
because Tony was showing me that I wasn't being my authentic self, that I had, you know, put myself in certain boxes to make another person feel better, because they didn't approve of certain things or they didn't like certain things about me. So, you know, I had to shape myself instead of just being myself. And then, you know, I'm crying in that event. Like, I broke down. And, you know, like, Sandy is, like, telling me, like, you know who you are. Like, you know, where's that Jennifer that I've known for all these years? Like, you know, I know it's hard for you, but this is, you know, like,
this is necessary.
Yeah, it was very necessary. But because my business partnership and romantic partnership were intertwined together, it was a massive breakup for me on many levels that began in 2017. Most of our business stuff he and I did together began right after the solar eclipse, during that solar eclipse energy.
So where are you now that you finally, everything, the foundation obviously was sketchy. You started not so harmoniously with a lot of expectations. Everything finally came down crumbling into a million pieces. Where are you now after you've commenced you started on your journey of healing?
Right, yeah. Every day I'm feeling better about myself. You know, I'm tapping back into my energy again. I'm loving myself again. I didn't love myself. I noticed that I didn't love myself during that time. And that is huge, because like I felt like I had so much love for myself, and then I went in this direction and lost every bit of it. So I'm having to, you know, look at the patterns that even took me down that direction so that I don't go down that direction again. And I'm having to mend myself back to who I am, who I know myself to be.
And it's not about going back to the person you were in some harmonious level of energy.
Right, it's just about showing love
Exactly.
towards yourself. Like, instead of putting myself on the back burner and my projects on the back burner, and I'm going to do all this work first and then I'll get to my matrix recoding stuff later. I didn't get to at all in the last 2 years.
Right.
I'm not blaming that on another person. I take full responsibility, and I blame myself for everything that I chose to do, and I'm not regretful for any of it, because it really opened up a lot of my inner shadow side, and a lot of my childhood traumas and wounds came up through this relationship that I was really able to look at.
Those are a lot of things that we battle with, that we bury so deep in our being that we don't want to shed light on them, because they are painful, because they are what structured our limitations, that our upbringing as a child is what structures the rest of the trajectory of our lives, and so having to, you know, dig up these skeletons is something very painful. I think, I personally believe that at the end of the day, every single box is created by fear. Right. Every single box.
Right. Fearful for what I may say or do affecting another person.
Or fearful of rejection. Rejection a lot of times because we either were rejected or misunderstood in our childhood, We grow up with that mentality of fear, of limitation. Maybe I shouldn't do this because I will be rejected. And so at the end of the day, I personally feel that it, and this is just my personal opinion, that it boils down to fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, but ultimately it is fear. So that is the first limiting box that we, or I don't know, I can't speak for Miss Jennifer.
Fear is definitely like it is what creates the limitations.
Right.
As far as like my projects and the things that I want to share with society, you know, there's always going to be people that reject my message. There's always going to be people that I don't resonate with, and I can't have fear that, you know, everyone in the world is going to hate me for saying what I have to say.
I think ultimately it simply is acceptance of oneself, acceptance of your person, acceptance of who you are, not competing with anybody, not even competing with yourself. It's simply, I would say it's simply just learning from your past experiences and wanting to become a better person, not necessarily a competition, because when you're in harmony with yourself, there is no sense of competition.
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, and just to sum up the video, because I know we've been rambling a little too much, we can go on forever.
I do that. Yeah,
we can go on
she has
forever
to cut
for
me
this.
off and like shut it down.
So, I mean, our experiences, both emotional, as far as our business, our entrepreneurship, we have grown. We can only encourage you to really look within, to really get a good glimpse of who you are, of what it is that you're trying to portray, because I think that we're all placed in this world with purpose. We're not just, you know, randomly thrown into existence hoping to, you know, to become something good. I think that we all have gifts and talents that we can offer and contribute to society and to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you get in touch with that part of you where you know who you are and you know what it is that you want to contribute to the world, you become your process of growth and of shedding those layers of insecurity and fear and so on and so forth, breaking the box. So, is there anything that you would like to add to close up, to sum up this message?
Yeah, definitely. Other than the bee that keeps flying, yeah, he just touched my head right then.
You gotta love Mother Nature and
I
the
know.
unexpected.
We've seen a big rabbit. We've seen several little lizards.
A giant
there's
lizard.
a giant lizard. I wonder if he's probably still hanging out right over there. He's like this big. Yeah, the bees come over here and she just puts her hand up and they fly away. But
Force of the energy.
I definitely, you know, want to encourage everyone to just be themselves and love yourself. Love yourself, because
yes.
It is very much kind of like when you get on an airplane and they explain to you that you need to put your mask on first or you will die trying to save your child.
Yes.
You need to put your mask on first so that you don't die trying to save the world. And I felt like I didn't put my mask on. I didn't have like my own sense of safety or security.
In other words, you cannot offer the world what you don't have inside to give.
Exactly.
Simple terms.
Yeah. So be you, love you, and express yourself in your true, authentic form.
Who you are. Find yourself and embrace yourself. Thank you guys all very much for joining us on this ramble. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will be in touch to continue this journey of breaking the box. Love you all. Thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you. Goodbye.